Picture this. Me, Reese Witherspoon, in London, ordering fish and chips so often they might start wrapping me in paper. I'm traveling with my Wells Fargo Autograph Journey card, so I earn rewards wherever I book travel. 5 times points with hotels, 4 times with airlines, 3 times on restaurants and other travel, and 1 point on other purchases. Imagine getting rewarded for eating a toad in the hole. Wait, what is a toad in a hole?
Visit wellsfargo.com/autograph journey. Terms apply.
Hello, I'm Max Rushton. The World Cup is back and Football Weekly is going daily. If you want award-winning soccer coverage from a podcast that's been overanalyzing the game for more than 20 years and still hasn't run out of opinions or just repeats the same ones over and over again, this is where you'll find it. We'll be producing 33 daily episodes across the tournament, breaking down all the action, the results, and of course, the drama. Can the US make it out of the group stage and into the spotlight on the biggest stage? World Cup Daily. Listen wherever you get your podcasts or watch full episodes on YouTube.
Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Breaking news, WABC.
Well, what's happening in Iran? Nobody knows.
I know.
The truth is, nobody knows. The facts are that now the latest issue is that they're going to allow people to come in and to check things.
So they say, John, so they say, and I always caveat it, we all do, about Iran, because you can't trust Iran. But Iran is apparently now saying, or at least according to the U.S., they're saying that they're going to somehow allow these inspectors in to check the nuclear sites. And the other thing that President Trump just came out with a little bit ago, guys, is that some of the unfrozen money, this I thought was interesting, because everyone's wondering where's the money going to go that Iran could get, which I'm not a fan of them getting anything. But he's saying that it will go to farmers and that they'll maybe buy U.S. food, and then that will go over.
And they're going to put Qatar in charge of who makes sure the food gets bought.
Yeah, what do you think of that, John?
I trust them implicitly.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that,
And
John.
in the studio, we have the borough president of the great island of Staten Island, Vito Fusella. How are you, Vito?
I'm doing great. Thank you all. Happy you all had a great Father's Day yesterday, John. And
yeah, you golfed.
Judge.
You golfed.
I did. I was able to get out for a little bit, but then we hosted, and it was a beautiful
night. You look like you
night.
have a suntan.
I know, I'm jealous.
It's either that or a skin rash. I'm not really sure. But
either way, I'm jealous.
And Judge Richard Weinberg's working a double shift today. He was here this morning.
Yes, you
6:30 in the morning, but who's counting?
You guys were the
6:30 to 10. Yes, we did it.
You guys are the warriors.
I got to be back at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well, by the way, before you go further, you got to fill us in. But here's some breaking news. All right.
Breaking news, WABC.
So, John, you got to fill us in on the picture of Margot that the president put out that went around the world.
Well, it made worldwide news, and it was a very, I must have had 1,000 reporters calling me. And it was Father's Day. I didn't feel like answering any of them. And I said, I'm doing Sid Rosenberg's morning show on WABC at 8 o'clock. I'm going to answer them. And instead of answering 1,000 different reporters, I did it at 8 o'clock, and it was an innocent answer. The president, me and Margot have been to
Camp
David several times.
Yep.
We built the chapel at Camp David under George Bush 41. And when Bill Clinton became president, he found out about that. We built the chapel, and he invited us back. And when I heard that President Trump was going to Camp David, and he doesn't go often.
Right, it was rare.
And we're friends, and I texted him a picture. This is our last time we were at Camp David. So at the same time, he did me a favor last Sunday, is when his people took my daughter off the list for his birthday party. President put my daughter back on the list.
Of course, you got to have AJ there.
Of course, and somehow there was some confusion, and the picture I sent them with at Camp David was with Margot in it. I guess he rushed. He didn't realize it, but Margot 30 years ago and AJ are the same person.
Well, and they both look like they're like super gorgeous, both of them.
So everything was straightened out. It was just innocent mistake.
Well, what I loved was all of a sudden I see these. Who are these? Who's the beautiful blonde? Who's the this? You know, it was great.
These reporters.
Yeah, they're looking for anything.
They're looking for anything.
Anything, and it was just an innocuous between friends. It's crazy. So crazy.
And Camp David is a wonderful place, and we built the chapel. The chapel is before that. I said the Italians, the Catholics got together, the Greek Orthodox got together, the Jews got together, the Protestants got together, and we built the chapel under Bush 41. And Camp David never had a chapel before.
And there's a library there, right? Named after my daughter AJ. I love that. How beautiful is that? That's a piece of history. Beautiful. That is so cool.
And that's why Bill Clinton invited me back, because he wanted, he knew about it and he wanted to show it to me.
I love that. And it's so funny how, like with Trump, any little thing becomes like this.
The Trump derangement symptom.
On steroids, right? On steroids. On steroids.
Who's this blonde?
Yeah, who's the blonde?
The mystery woman.
Well, what it says is blondes will always get you in trouble. That's the bottom line.
Really? All right.
I know firsthand.
I see that.
Yeah, we got Bill O'Reilly on?
Yeah, we do. Let's go to the great Bill O'Reilly. And Bill, fill us in.
Hey, how you guys doing? I thought Margot, that picture was taken yesterday.
Yeah. I tell you, she hasn't changed much.
She hasn't.
Oh, am I getting points here?
Absolutely. Margot loves you.
Margot is
it's good Polish genes. She's Polish too, so it's good Polish genes.
I saw that picture and went, yeah, it's just Margot. I had dinner with her 3 weeks ago. Come on, what's the deal?
Exactly, I did too. But don't you love that story, Bill? It's so, but it just shows the Trump derangement.
Listen, I'm writing a message of the day for BillO'Reilly.com, even as we speak. I mean, I'm paying attention to you guys, but I just started the message. And it's just inconceivable. And let me give you a very vivid example. The people who showed up on Thursday for the Obama Library in Chicago, the celebrities who showed up, Bono, Springsteen, you name it, right? Oprah. Right? I don't know any conservative traditional people who want to hurt those people. Do you guys know anybody who wants to hurt them?
Absolutely not.
Showed up to entertain at a former president's library opening? Yet, if you did that to Trump and you showed up at anything that he wants, you're blackballed by the left. You're put on a list, the no-fly zone, I call it. You can't hire that person, can't talk to that person, can't be around them. And if they have children, you have to mock their children. And I'm saying to myself, do Americans, they don't see this, that there's one side, and they're passionate people, conservatives are passionate, obviously, who will say, hey, we know what this country's about. We have a variety of opinions. And then you have another side that say, no, we don't want that kind of a country. We want to hurt people with whom we disagree. And it's so clear to me that none of these celebrities will get harmed in any way, and nor should they, that show up to the Obama opening. Yet Trump can't even get 3 guys to come out for a wrestling thing because people are afraid to get on the list.
You know what I thought of, Bill? The America 250. Because remember, there were all these performers that were scheduled, and that's celebrating America. And then a lot of them backed out because clearly they got some pressure from somebody.
Well, I think that was partly, Rita, because Trump was threatening to dunk them in that little pool they had that's polluted.
The blue or the green pool? Which part of it?
Nobody wanted to do that.
The dunking pool.
No, that's the point. That if you show up to a 250 event or anything that has to do with Trump, somebody's going to try to hurt you. And it's very clear to me that the progressive movement has now adopted hate as a tactic, where the conservatives can get hateful. You got to be honest; they absolutely can, but it's not in their party platform.
Yeah, it's very frightening. And also, Bill, tomorrow night, obviously, is a big election that's taking place in New York, the primaries. And you've got some very extreme candidates that are in there that are anti-everything.
Tomorrow is going to decide which way our state is going.
And maybe the country, eventually.
The state at least. The country is going to be a lot harder. But the state, because if he gets 3 out of 3...
Yeah.
AOC might beat Schumer.
Yeah, exactly. AOC, it's going to embolden her.
I think AOC could beat Schumer now. Not only she needs any help to beat him. Their organization, the Democratic organization, is very, very powerful in New York State. And they know where the votes are. We're not as bad as California. California is just flat out corrupt with the vote bundling, with buying of the votes. That is the worst right there. New York's not far behind. And so if they want AOC, and why wouldn't they? Okay. Schumer is long past his prime. I mean, the man can't even speak without reading it off a paper. He can't even speak. He's got the glasses on the head. He's got his head down in the script, and he's reading all kinds of stuff that makes no sense whatsoever. It reminds me of Biden and Schumer does. I've known him forever, but he's not a force in the Democratic Party, even though he's a Senate minority leader. Nobody listens to him. And then AOC's got the glamour, and that means a lot in New York City.
Yeah, glamour, energy, and also the crowds, too. I mean, look at some of the events that she's done and Bernie Sanders. They pack it in.
That's because they've created a machine.
Absolute star.
The Democratic Socialists.
Underestimating her is living in a false world. I will say this. She is a fellow Boston University Terrier. All right. She graduated from there. So did I with broadcast journalism masters. I know for a fact, because I've watched her fairly closely, that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't know much. There's a song, Don't Know Much About History. I think she's going to recut that song. She'll probably have Springsteen in the background singing it with her. Maybe Robert De Niro up top. She doesn't know much. But that doesn't matter in politics these days. What you know can actually hurt you. Schumer knows a lot, but Schumer is now just devolved into this kind of mannequin that spouts the progressive stuff that is handed to him.
Yeah, that's frightening. By the way, Bill, what are your thoughts about Iran, too? Fill us in on how do you think President Trump is handling where things are headed, and also J.D. Vance?
Well, I don't know about J.D. because he's probably a messenger guy. I mean, he's not making policy. I'm a little more optimistic today than I was over the weekend that something good will happen for America. And the reason is that I know this to be true. There are only 2 options left for President Trump. 2. They either let the weapons inspectors in to look at the uranium, or he is going to bomb them in a way that is ferocious. There's no other ground, none. He's got to do one or the other. And I'm betting that the mullahs know that, and that they will sign a paper that says they'll allow weapons inspectors in. Now, whether they do, whether they play hide the mole or, okay, that's down the road. But I think for the first time I'm seeing that this whole thing is being cut down to one or the other. And I hope everybody will read my column on BillO'Reilly.com because I spell it out for you. A lot of propaganda going on here. But that's the truth. President Trump has 2 options, and his legacy depends on winning. He has to win this.
By the way, I agree, Bill. When I hear inspectors back in, I go back to our early days together at Fox where there was so much of this, they kind of let him in. They didn't really let him in. I'm talking about a different president, but this is games by the Iranians. And thank God President Trump's there, but I'm so leery of anything with them. And I'm leery about money going to them in any shape or form, no matter who's giving it.
Can't stop it, Rita.
No, I know. And that's the sad thing. They're getting money from oil right now.
Yeah. Can't stop it. Have to accept it. Is it worth Iran being monitored for nuclear activity, nuclear weapons? I say yes.
Yeah, I do too, if they'll indeed allow it.
Right. But if they don't, then there's going to be military action and hard action. So the Pentagon war gamers have already drawn it up. They know, I found this out today, what kind of bombs they're going to drop and where they're going to bomb them. That's already in motion. So the mullahs know it too because Vance is telling them that. You got two choices, all right? Either let the weapons inspectors in, or we're just, I'm not going to use an obscenity that President Trump would use.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. And the mullahs believe him.
Right.
This isn't like, some kind of bluff now. We're way beyond the bluff stage. And the other tell is that all the tankers are getting through Hormuz now.
Yep.
And that is an enormous boost for the United States and for the world as commerce will come back. If you look at the price of oil, before this all started, it's about $64 a barrel. I think when the market closed today, it was 72. Now, what President Trump has to do is tell the American oil companies, you better stop gouging, you better start dropping this at retail level. And if he does that, they will, because he can hurt them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bill, by the way, we have Vito Fossella with us, Staten Island Borough President.
Bill, going back to your original point about the intolerance, if you will, on the left and wanting to do harm. If you remember, we all remember the Supreme Court justices whose homes were being terrorized because they, exercised their right and their opinion.
They try to kill Kavanaugh.
So it's like taking to an extreme from those who claim to be tolerant, and yet they're just beyond that. And to the point here with Iran is the same folks who want to see the U.S. fail because the president happens to be President Trump. And I don't know, is there any way to get back to a day when, even though you disagree with the president of the United States, you want to see that country, our own country, fail? I mean, there's good and evil in the world.
It's going to take a long time, Vito. Yeah. Going to take a different kind of leader, a younger leader, who's going to have to appeal to Americans to knock it off and say, look, if you don't, this is a cliche, but really it's true. I've been to 86 countries, most of whom were relieved when I left.
Did they pay you to leave or no?
Well, there was some negotiation. If you don't like this country the way it is, not to say it can't be improved, and my new book is Confronting America, What Has to Change. And we do have to improve. But if you're really down at your core, cannot accept the two-party system, cannot accept another point of view, go to the Bahamas.
Yeah, all absolutely. Right? It's right. I mean, look, it's a great country.
Right. With the World Cup now, a lot of people know more about geography than they used to. Ivory Coast would love to have you if you have more than 35 cents. But if the media has driven this to the extent where it is okay to be a hater now, and it wasn't okay 10 years ago. Now it's okay. That's the difference.
Yeah, and that's a dangerous place to be, no doubt. I think it's really, as we've seen all the threats against the president, too, which is really bad. Bill, thank you very much. We always love your perspective, Bill, and let's pray for unity at some point. That's my prayer. We'll see, though.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you. And I understand, John, we have calling in now Newt Gingrich, the former speaker.
Well, calling in today is Speaker Newt Gingrich, and to me, he's always my speaker. And Mr. Speaker, there's so many things going on in our country, in the world. You got Vance was in Switzerland making peace. Great Britain is falling apart. Spain has their own problems. Where do you want to start this afternoon?
Well, John, I think you've got it exactly right. In the sense, if you back way out and look at the whole planet, the whole planet's in motion. Different things are happening in different places. There's a pro-market, pro-free enterprise movement in Latin America, probably the strongest it's been in 30 or 40 years. So you see a real movement there in places like Peru and Chile and Colombia. Then you have this really we're talking about at length. Starmer resigning after 2 years as prime minister. They're about to have their 7th prime minister in about 6 years. I mean, the British system, which used to be very stable, very problem-solving, has just collapsed. And it's amazing. As an observer, I don't understand how they got to be this bad, but they are in very deep trouble.
You know what I've said to people this morning as I was doing this morning show? I said that between His Royal Highness King Charles and Donald Trump, and they made a difference in what happened in Great Britain because the British came back to sanity.
Well, and the thing is, King Charles is turning out to be a very competent, calm reformer. He's just announced he's going to release all of his financial statements for the first time in the history of the monarchy, ever. And he's doing it because he understands in the modern world, you have to build trust with the people. They have to have some belief in what you're doing. And even if it's embarrassing a little bit because he is quite rich, nonetheless, they're tired of kings and queens being kind of above everything. And so I'm watching King Charles, who I thought had a great visit to the U.S., gave a very compelling speech to the Congress. Close and I met him years ago when she was ambassador to the Vatican, and he came for the sainthood of John Henry Newman, who was a very famous English Catholic. And I found him to be charming, practical, down to earth, not very princely. And I think he's carried that common sense right into being king.
Well, I'm glad to hear there's some common sense finally, because the British woke up one day and they found out that they're no longer British. It is only 47% British. I mean, somebody took over their country.
Well, and the level of mass migration, particularly from Pakistan and India, has just been staggering. And I think it's been beyond the capacity of the country to assimilate. And then the elites decided they were on the side of the people who were coming in from outside. So, there are some reports that as many as 250,000 young British girls have been groomed and used sexually, but largely by Pakistani gangs. And the police for many, many years were actually on the side of the gangs.
Oh, my God.
If parents reported it, they were called racist and told, you don't appreciate the cultural values of your neighbors. And it's truly a scandal. I read a guy named Mark Stein, who I find to be remarkably helpful. He wrote a book years ago called America Alone, and he's been probably the best observer of how sick Britain has gotten. And you look at this stuff and you just think, and you're seeing now, by the way, a big reaction by the British people. I mean, for the first time in a long time, people have gone back to flying their national flags, to a sense of we want to take our country back. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds. But for the moment, you have a conservative party which has collapsed. There are now 3 different conservative parties. You have the Reform, the Relief, and the traditional conservatives. You have a Labour Party with a huge majority. I mean, Starmer, to his credit, had won an enormous majority 2 years ago, but he didn't know how to govern. Nobody trusted him, and his support just collapsed. And so they have a mayor in the Midlands who was very popular in Manchester. He stepped down as mayor, ran in a special election, won last week, is coming to Parliament, and the minute he won, Starmer was gone. Nobody was going to stay with Starmer. So who do
you think the next prime minister is going to be? Do we have any indication?
Yeah, it's going to be. My mind's gone blank. It's going to be the mayor of Manchester, who just won the seat.
Gotcha. I understand. Now let's talk about Iran. You live in Switzerland too, and everything was going on in Switzerland, and give us the pulse of the situation, what's going on with Iran with the negotiation.
Well, I have to say, by the way, that Cliff and I had a great privilege last week because we met President Trump when he landed in Geneva on the way to the G7, and he just randomly invited us to join him in Marine One. So we actually flew into France with him, and then we had to figure out a way to get back to Geneva. But I think J.D. Vance is trying to lock down the beginning of an agreement. John, look, let me be an optimist for a half minute. We're going to have to manage aggressively a relationship with the religious dictatorship, maybe for 20 or 30 years. This is not like World War II, where we crushed Hitler, we crushed the Japanese, the Italians collapsed. We have bruised them pretty badly. We have their attention. They are afraid of us in the sense that they're going to be cautious, but they're not deathly afraid of us. They're not convinced that we would take them out. And frankly, I try to remind people, this is a country the size of Texas, California, Montana, and Illinois combined. It's 90 million people. We don't want to try, and Trump has been right to say, yeah, we can use air power, but we're not putting ground troops in there.
Yes.
It would be a really big project.
It would be a big mistake, I think, to put ground troops in.
That's right. So what we're trying to do, and he's not getting any credit from the people who hate him, but what he's trying to do is get as many concessions as he can while only using air power. And he's a little bit handicapped, oddly enough, because he's the leader of a coalition. It's not Trump by himself.
Yes.
But it's Trump plus Saudi Arabia, plus Israel, plus Qatar, plus Kuwait, plus Bahrain, plus the UAE.
But we're almost out of time, but we're making progress. Is that the good news?
Yeah, I think on balance, from what we've seen in the last 2 weeks, we are beginning to make progress in forcing the dictatorship to change some. But the old Reagan rule of trust but verify applies 100 times to this problem.
Speaker Newt Gingrich, thank you so much for your wisdom and your common sense, and thank you for what you're doing for America.
Right. Glad to do it. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And we love the former speaker. Really great conversation there, John. And everybody, let's take a break. And John Solomon has some big scoops. You definitely don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC. Breaking news, WABC.
And for the big breaking news, let's go to the great John Solomon, investigative journalist and founder of Just the News. John, fill us in.
Well, so much going on. Let me start with some news off of Capitol Hill. As you know, 2-3 years ago, we began writing stories at Just the News looking at some of the unusual behavior on the massive Democratic online fundraising platform known as Act Blue. That led to an extensive investigation at the Justice Department and Congress. Congress recently brought the CEO of Act Blue. She took the Fifth Amendment over and over again. Now, the House Republican committees, 3 of them, are joining together, House Judiciary, House Administration, and House Oversight, saying that they may move to find the Act Blue CEO and other officials in contempt of Congress. i.e., doing exactly what Democrats did a couple of years ago against Steve Bannon and others in the January 6th investigation. They are not complying with these subpoenas, and we may soon be in court on a major scandal involving ActBlue. So that's something everybody's talking about. Meanwhile,
and by the way, John, before you move forward, it's huge money. I mean, Judge, we've talked about it. Judge Weinberg's. I mean, we're talking about massive amounts of money.
Right, and
$1 billion in the last two elections.
How much?
Couple billion.
Wow.
Yeah,
that they
which
moved. I mean,
is enough to move the votes, don't you think, John?
Oh yeah, that's a lot of money. You could buy a lot of votes. You could buy a lot of get out the votes with that. Absolutely.
And the interesting thing, by the way, on this this concern about issuing the subpoena and then not turning over documents is they're asserting all kinds of nonsense like attorney-client privilege. But if you take a hard look at what they're looking for, it has nothing to do. One was a resignation letter. Right. The other one was a guy seeking whistleblower protection. That's not attorney-client privilege. So there's no basis not to turn it over. So you really have a good enforcement action for contempt here.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, it'll depend on what sort of judge you get in the Washington, D.C. area, because some of the judges here have not ruled inconsistently with the Constitution, which requires Congress going up a notch or two to the appellate level. But you're right. On the facts of the law, the congressional committees are in a very strong position. And because they're trying to create legislative fixes to make sure there's no cheating in future elections, I think courts are going to defer to Congress in a big way, given the issue that's there. I want to get to a couple other big things that happened today. There's real signs of progress today in the Iran peace negotiations. J.D. Vance acknowledging that Iran has agreed to allow atomic weapons inspectors into the country regularly. That's a big leap forward. We would give them some relief in return for doing that. So the give and take is officially beginning now. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be hiccups. It could all fall apart. But the fact that Iran came to the table with that today is creating some enthusiasm, not only in the markets, but in the intelligence community a little bit. And then I want to get to a couple stories we had over the weekend about my favorite top doctor. I've been working on him for 2 decades, all the way back when I was an AP reporter 20 years ago.
Are you talking about Dr. Fauci or Dr. Biden?
Dr. Fauci on this one, absolutely. 20 years ago, I documented how he tested AIDS drugs on foster children in New York without proper protections. Now we are starting to see from the documents that Tulsi Gabbard was kind enough to declassify this past weekend, the CIA knew from a video it located early in the pandemic that Dr. Fauci's own collaborators on research were admitting that they were enhancing the coronavirus and trying to make it more lethal to humans at the Wuhan lab in China, the very thing that Anthony Fauci was claiming in public he did not do. And the CIA was so convinced that he was lying to Congress about these issues, a whistleblower actually made a referral to the Inspector General of the Intelligence Committee. That's the chief watchdog. Now, normally, the right thing to do is that chief watchdog would send it to the watchdog for the Fauci's health agency, NIH, and then there would be a criminal investigation, but not under the Biden years. You know, the Inspector General basically threw it to a political appointee and buried that criminal referral, buried that whistleblower complaint, and as a result, Fauci escaped any investigation or prosecution. Then, of course, in the final hours of the Biden presidency, he got a pardon which protected him further. So we're learning a lot more just how bad things were in the Fauci truth-telling world.
Wow. And so because of that pardon, and I'm looking at Vito Fossella, who's here in studio, because of that, he can't, right? I mean, there can't be any follow-up, right?
Don't tell Rand Paul that, because Rand Paul was on my show last week saying, hey, guys, we can waive this pardon. We can go and challenge it. It was an auto-pen pardon. Ron Johnson and several other senators, Rand Paul, are urging the president to treat that pardon as non-existent, to say it was unlawful, it wasn't signed by Joe Biden, it was an auto pen, and challenge it in court and maybe prosecute him. So the pressure's on. We'll see what the Justice Department does.
Vito.
But where does it go? Well, what's the next step here? And, there's a famous secretary under Ronald Reagan that they destroyed him, like so many people that questioned the government's policy during COVID. And he said, where do I go to get my reputation back?
Ray Donovan.
So, Ray Donovan was right.
Yeah, in this case, it's the opposite.
Not the TV show.
Ray Donovan.
Secretary of Labor.
And so, hey, where do people go for that to get their reputation back? And what happens next as it relates to these findings and the release of declassified information?
Yeah, nobody, where nobody goes to jail. Nobody gets in trouble.
That's exactly it. And we have a story coming up in the next couple of days of all the different ways Democrats have thwarted accountability for people who clearly violated the law. It clearly is the story of the last decade. It takes us years to find the truth. When we find the truth and we find someone who broke the law, they always seem to walk off. They get a pardon. The statute of limitations expires. The answer to this question of whether Donald Trump will break the cycle rests in Fort Pierce, Florida, where grand jury subpoenas are going out on a daily basis now. Witnesses are starting to go before the grand jury. A guy named Joe DeGeneva, 50-year record of prosecuting people all the way back to Marion Barry. He's got the flight stick. Now, we don't know yet whether he'll be able to get the sort of accountability that has eluded us in prior prosecutions. But the answer is now there is pretty clear evidence that the intelligence community knew in real time that Anthony Fauci had not told the truth to Congress. They knew in real time that the virus emanated from Wuhan, and they kept us in the dark. It could have changed the way we reacted
big
to
time.
the pandemic.
I mean, big time. Think of all the people. I mean, so many people died and so many issues surrounding it. I mean, it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible. John, stay on it, definitely. Thank you very much.
We will. Great to be on the show, guys.
We love having you. Thank you, John, so much. And you guys, now let's go to some of the other big stories of the day.
It's the top news of the day. Here's Rita Cosby.
And as you heard from John, President Trump says the Iran negotiations are working out very well. Speaking from the Oval Office just a few hours ago, President Trump said the U.S. is negotiating a fair and reasonable deal, and also that Iran has agreed to allow inspectors in. We'll see if they follow through on their promises. Meantime, 2 prominent deaths were announced today. Former 5-term Federal Reserve head Alan Greenspan has died at the age of 100. And also legendary music producer Clive Davis died at the age of 94. Davis, of course, discovered or guided the careers of some major superstars like Whitney Houston, Bruce Springsteen, Janis Joplin, and Alicia Keys. And those are the big headlines. We're going to talk Iran. And also John Fund has some eye-opening details about the Democratic Socialists that may take over New York, maybe even starting tomorrow night.
Even if you're using topical prescription creams for your child's eczema, you still might be hearing this. That relentless itching that makes them want to scratch and scratch and scratch and scratch. When their moderate to severe eczema isn't well controlled, it's time to ask about Dupixent, dupilumab, which isn't a cream, steroid, or immunosuppressant. Dupixent helps kids as young as 6 months stay ahead of their eczema with clearer skin and noticeably less itch. Severe allergic reactions, including skin reactions, can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, wheezing, or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor right away of new or worsening eye problems like eye pain or vision changes, skin symptoms, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop other treatments without talking to your doctor. Dupixent helps your child feel the heal. Ask your child's eczema specialist. Visit Dupixent.com or call 1-844-DUPIXENT.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See Fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby, and joining us now is Brigadier General Blaine Holt. We love him, C-17 commander and also former deputy representative to NATO. General Holt, where is this going with Iran? Because we just had Bill O'Reilly on at the top, and he was saying now they've said, okay, they're going to allow inspectors in to check the nuclear material. Obviously, that is so important. And if they don't, Bill O'Reilly says President Trump's going to pound them to smithereens. Your thoughts?
Well, smithereens is a strong word, and I don't think we're going to have to get it to smithereens. I like all 3 tracks that we're on right here, right now. And what I would caution everybody is think about all of the noise that was out there this weekend saying, oh, they're leaving, they're running away, oh, it's all over, it's the Hezbollah thing is out there. None of that's true. What was so good was that Vice President Vance was so calm and just stood up and said, here's the facts. This is where the struggles are. This is what's going on. Here's the transparency. But what he also said was, not only are we getting our way with the nuclear side of things, the straits are going to remain open. We're going to have a new process for any time we have a difference of opinion about the straits before we close them. And then this idea of a joint Lebanese-Israeli force with proper rules of engagement that would squeeze out what's left of Hezbollah because we're going to choke their supply lines and their money anyway. All three of those are just great, and they put us on a right vector towards this thing called the Abraham Accords. Brilliant.
Yeah, by the way, the other thing they brought up, President Trump brought up, because Iran was talking about tolls or whatever, and then they said, no. If that's the case, the U.S. will maybe, they use the phrase, so to be the guardian angel, and that maybe they would charge a fee that would cover the cost for them for overseeing. In other words, guaranteeing sort of security of the straits. What do you think of that if it comes to that?
All I can tell you is it looks very much like there is going to be monetary extraction for crossing the straits from now on.
Yeah, in some form, right? Right.
In some form it's going to happen. Now, if you want the Blaine Holt suggestion, I would say take that board of peace, and here's how you pay for it. Let's go ahead and do the tolls, and the participating countries that are putting resources up against this board of peace and the things that need to be done, let's go ahead and use that toll money there in a joint way across many countries so that everybody's benefiting.
Yeah, and let's maybe use some of the frozen Iranian funds to maybe help the victims of terror there in Iran and elsewhere around the globe. What about that, Blaine?
I love that idea. Let's take care of the Iranians. Let's take care of everybody who's been the victim of IRGC terror. And let's set up a fund in perpetuity that can grow over time to continue to take care of things like that. And this is what I like about what President Trump's looking at this. He monetizes things. He puts business at work into things. You've heard Vice President Vance talk about contracts for food. That's so important because if there's one thing an Iranian needs right now, it's water and food.
Yeah, that is for sure. And make sure it gets to the people who need it. Vito Fasella.
I think it just bears repeating why this took place in the first place, is that Iran has been an existential threat to peace in the Middle East and potentially around the world. And it was President Trump who said, we're not going to allow them to have a nuclear weapon to destroy the next generation or the coming generations. And sometimes we lose sight of that in all these little discussions. I'm curious, Blaine, do you feel that people are losing sight of that fundamental principle?
I think they need to be reminded of it 24/7, 365, because there's propaganda all over the place. The other thing I would add to your very eloquent point is
wait, whose point? Was that mine or Vito's point? That was so eloquent.
No, it was Vito's.
Oh, well, yeah, keep going then.
So what I would say is I would add to that and say people need to be reminded that there's not 130,000 U.S. forces in Iran right now, and that we're taking casualties in some terrible firefight with the spire of nuclear war just around the corner. That's not what's happening here. And we're not going into a war that's a forever war. We're actually into the final chapters of closing this one out. And people need to be reminded of that. And I think President Trump will remind us very loudly of all of that once this gets done, because here come the midterms.
Yeah. And boy, they're coming up fast and furious. Thank you so much. Brigadier General Blaine Holt, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's great to get your perspective as always. Thank you, Blaine. And we have John Fund actually calling in, talking about the midterms, which Blaine was just saying. I understand John is dialing in. And boy, tomorrow there's the big primary judge, of course, right?
You have three seats in the House of Representatives, where the Democratic Socialists are waging a war in the Democratic Party to make the party a radical leftist Islamist party. That's what's going on.
And joining us now here on Katz and Cosby is John Fund, the great reporter and journalist there with the National Review and so much more. And John, you wrote a really powerful column about socialism on the march. Tell us all about it, because, boy, tomorrow's elections could be very telling on the Democratic side.
Well, New York City, as you know, put socialism on the map last November when Mayor Mondami won. And ever since then, he has not only tried to govern New York, he has tried to take over the party in New York City and New York State. Tomorrow is his big debut. He has 3 Democratic Socialists of America friends of his running for Congress. If he wins those primaries, I think it means AOC either becomes senator replacing Chuck Schumer or runs for president in 2028. and the socialists may take over the Democratic Party nationally.
Wow, this is John. I guess it's we'll know better tomorrow night. I mean, which way is our system going, and is socialism really taking over the Democratic Party?
Well, sadly, I think that this is a product of the fact that all the people who moved to New York in the last 10 years don't know the city well. If you look at the exit polls from last November's election, if you lived in New York more than 15 years or were born here, you voted for Cuomo. If you lived in New York between 10 and 15 years, it broke even. If you lived in New York less than 10 years, you voted for Mondani. And in some cases, if you lived in New York only 5 years, it was a landslide. So I think this is a bunch of people who don't understand New York and who are mad at the fact that things are expensive here. And rather than blame government, which keeps prices high and the cost of living high, they're blaming the rich, and they want to go after the rich. So I don't think this could go nationally that quickly. But to lose New York to a bunch of people who don't understand how to run a city would be a tragedy and would affect other states, because Democratic Socialists of America candidates just won in Washington, D.C., so the disease is spreading.
You know, John, also, you talk about some of these things that the Democratic Socialists stand for. It's really eye-opening. I mean, anti-police, anti-ICE, anti-Pentagon. Kind of talk about what their platform, what it means.
Well, their platform goes way beyond what Bernie Sanders ever talked about. They want to basically have Congress dictate what the executive branch and the Supreme Court do. They want to abolish the Electoral College. They want ranked choice voting for all offices, because that helped, of course, Mondani win. And they want to raise taxes dramatically, have free health care, free child care, free everything, and, of course, soak the rich. But as you know, when you start soaking the rich, you run out of money, and pretty soon you're soaking the middle class.
Now, I mean, it's happened all over Europe. I mean, look what happened in London. Socialism is taking over.
Well, I think we can stop this, but it means that New Yorkers are going to have to actually get down in the streets and fight. They're going to have to go door to door. They're going to have candidates that actually can respond to these people rather than cave into them. Because part of the reason the Democratic Socialists win is they intimidate the rest of the Democratic Party into silence. And they will accuse them of racism. They'll accuse them of sticking up for, class interests. In other words, they basically don't want to debate. They want to shut people up. And unless people fight back, and unless people argue against them, they'll be pushing against an open door.
Wow, that's frightening. That is frightening. The other thing I think about, are you also in Seattle? You've got that woman. You've got the guy in Pennsylvania also. How about Adam Holloway, John? I mean, he's in New Jersey. That's the guy who was the character witness for the blind shake.
Primaries are dangerous places because the turnout is low. You can activate people to go out and campaign for a candidate. And because turnout is so low, they can win. Mondani won in part because he had 100,000 people on the street. He is turning that army over to his friends in tomorrow's primary, which is why it's important that everyone in your audience go and vote if they're in those districts.
Yeah, great points. Well, John Fund, thank you so much. Really eye-opening. We'll see what happens tomorrow night, right, John?
We got to make sure that people realize what really could happen to our country and to our cities, and it's really crazy, but the American people are smart. Let them realize what's going on.
John, thank you very much. Great to have you, John.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow, that is a block. You heard just what he said. He said just now to us that if they indeed win tomorrow, there'll be a trend, and he thinks it almost assures that AOC is going to run for president or Senate, and it's the beginning of a mess.
They're nationalizing the DSA movement. They are. I started to say to O'Reilly, but he's on a riff on something else. The people who have the political machine today are the Democratic Socialists, and they're not to be underestimated.
And they're getting all the attention too, Vito, too, media attention too.
Yeah, and it's not unique to the city of New York. We see their candidates all over the country. The point is, what do they represent? forget the cartoons of what they're trying to run. Is they represent really undermining what this country has been all about.
The whole constitutional order.
Abolish police, abolish ICE, abolish the Pentagon.
And free everything, right? Free this, free that.
Pack the Supreme Court. Have the power of the presidency and Supreme Court diminished, and have everything run by Congress because they think they'll win the Congress.
Don't give a dime to Israel for military aid. I mean, this is
a very dangerous proposition. That's
really
taking
scary.
place right before us.
And it's tomorrow night is the big primary, guys. So let's see what happens. Boy. And John, I understand we have calling in right now Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas. Why don't you take that?
Well, coming in today, well, it's a great Monday. We have Senator Roger Marshall from the great state of Kansas. And, well, you're middle America. You guys have common sense. And that's what middle America is known for. And you have a Senate race this year, too. So give us an update, what you think is going on in America, in the Senate races, because it's important that our country goes in the right direction. Senator Marshall.
John, great to be with you. When I think of Kansas, I think about common sense, I think about hard work, and I think of values. But what's going to determine the election this year? And we will have a tough race. We certainly expect a very tough race. It is very simple. It's the price of gasoline. But here's the good news. We've seen the price of gasoline drop from $4.50 a gallon to already this weekend it's under $3.50. I went to a couple places. It was like $3.39 a gallon. And it is the price of gasoline is absolutely the barometer for this election going forward.
And if the price of gasoline goes down, then all of a sudden inflation goes down and interest rates go down.
Yeah. John, it's that simple that the energy always leads into inflation, and it's the first to lead us out of inflation. And the good news, the economy back in Kansas is set and primed. Manufacturing is picking up. Boeing, they're booked out till 2030. All of my smaller manufacturing companies, 100, 300 employees, they are backed up on orders. We just can't find enough people to keep up with those jobs. We have a significant oil industry back home as well. Agriculture, cattle industry is great. So I think we get the price of gasoline under control. Everything else is full speed ahead.
Can we fix immigration in America? I mean, we used to have Ellis Island, where we brought in immigrants that wanted to work hard for America, work 80 hours a week and do the right job. If we need bricklayers, we bring in bricklayers. If we need electricians, we bring in electricians. What does it take to fix immigration in America?
Well, John, I think to finish the wall, that's the good news is we are finishing the wall. It'll be finished by the end of next year. We have to be able to control their border. We're in favor of legal immigration. So we have to be able to funnel people the right processes. And if there's any president that might be able to fix it, guess what his name is?
Donald J. Trump.
What a great guess, because I think the American people believe him, that he's as concerned about security as he is about the number of people that are immigrating.
Well, when all the immigrants came in, they all pledged allegiance to America. And when the immigrants came in under President Biden, guess what? They hated America. You know, we went over a statistic before. The statistic in the Democratic Party before, when President Clinton was on, before President Obama, was 80% of the Democrats loved America. After President Obama and during President Biden, it's down to 29%. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, John, it breaks my heart. Here we are on 250th anniversary, and I just encourage all your listeners, sit down with your kids, your grandkids, and tell them why you love this country. Tell them when you became a patriot. Tell them what it was like when your grandfather stormed the beach of Normandy. Whatever it is, we need to share why we love this country. But you're right, there's so many consequences to what happened when 10 or 20 million people came into this country illegally. It drove up the cost of housing, for instance, as well, and brought in this attitude of we don't love America anymore. So it breaks my heart, but we had a great opportunity, 250th anniversary, to get out and celebrate America.
Well, Senator, you know, you're running an election. Do the American people realize, you know, let's go to middle America, your state. Do the American people realize that the Democratic Party right now is being abnormally influenced by the Socialist Party?
Well, they do, John. And even just this weekend, I was with my dad, and he said, when I come to your radio show to ask you, how in the world did you let New York elect a communist to run the city? Look, I mean, New York is the front door to America. It's the financial capital of the world, the communication capital of the world. How did it happen? And that we don't want that to happen in Kansas. Back home, we have so many people that had this libertarian streak that they just want to be left alone. They want to raise their family, go to church where they want to, maybe have a fishing boat someday. So, but I think we still got our values right, but we are very concerned about the country.
What else would you like to tell the American people on a Monday night?
Well, let's talk about maybe Iran just for a second. Excited to hear what Vice President Vance had to say this morning. They're making great progress. As I look at the Iran situation, we're trying to go down 3 roads at the same time. We got to take care of the nukes and make sure that we're not in a forever war. We need to figure out what to do with Lebanon. And then all these other one-off issues, terrorism, missiles, all those things. And the solution there is to use the Gulf countries themselves to regulate the situation. So the big news from last night is the vice president said they're talking about some type of a demilitarized zone between Israel and Lebanon. I think that's a great idea. If we can keep peace there, maybe we can figure out the rest of this story.
I agree with you 110%. Israel has to do what they have to do for their country. We have to do what we have to do for our country. And we're great allies, but we have to worry about America. We have to worry about November. And the American people don't want to pay high gas prices. And we want lower interest rates.
Yeah, John, it's just that simple. No more nukes. No forever wars. Keep the strait open and keep gas prices down. Whatever it takes to get there, that's what I'm for.
Senator Roger Marshall, thank you so much for what you do, and God bless you, and God bless America.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Senator. Great discussion there, John. And coming up, you guys, we're going to go to Rod Blagojevich. Boy, rough weekend in Chicago. And guess what? Some of the Democratic politicians are already talking about running for president. Are you kidding me? What about dog catcher?
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Need a laptop that's built to perform and designed to last all day? Select Windows 11 PCs starting at $499.99 are now at Best Buy. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
A common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. And joining us now is Rod Blagojevich, the former governor of Illinois. And Governor Blagojevich, this is horrible. They just put out some of the numbers. 38 people shot, 7 killed just this weekend in Chicago. That's like a typical weekend in Chicago. And President Trump says he wants to take over Chicago. He said, just ask me, say the word. But J.B. Pritzker says everything's fine. I mean, what do you make of these numbers? And the summer's just beginning.
The summer's just beginning. It's going to be a long, hot summer. Here we go again. This deja vu all over again. This happens every summer. And every summer when President Trump offers Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson help, they turn him down. They have a right to dislike President Trump if they want. They have a right to, say the things they say about him, even though they're mostly very wrong and terrible things. But they don't have a right to turn down help. They have a responsibility to protect the public. And in this particular case, virtually every one of those murders and the shootings are black. And Black Lives Matter, except to these Democratic politicians, Black Lives Matter only for votes, not when it comes to protecting them. And when I think about my next-door neighbor, who actually I like, not hypothetically, let's say I didn't, and my house is on fire, and my next-door neighbor who I hypothetically don't like, even though in reality I like, just in case he's listening, but he probably isn't. But if he offers me a garden
Should we call him?
Everybody listens to this,
do we need to call him?
Well, Well, just if you call him, make sure you tell him I like him. But hypothetically, if I didn't like him and my house is on fire and he offers me a garden hose, am I going to turn it down or am I going to put my fire out? And that's what we have here. And they are so hyper-politicized that they continue to turn down an opportunity to save lives, and it's sickening. And now we have some of these left-wing activists in Chicago calling press conferences telling President Trump literally to shut up, just send us the money. That's what they're saying. Just send us the money. And so the money goes into the more of these worthless non-profit groups that do nothing to prevent violence, but instead they lunch up a taxpayer's dollar and get rich.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic. Vito Fosello's with us, Staten Island Borough President, former congressman.
Rod,
with him. Hi, Vito.
Hey, Rod. It's good to hear your voice, and I had the pleasure of serving with Rod when he was in Congress as well. And this is like Groundhog Day, right, Rod? We wait for June to come, and we wait for the slaughter to occur in the streets of Chicago. What do you think needs to happen? The first number 1, 2 steps. Otherwise, we're going to see dozens and dozens killed by the end of come Labor Day.
Well, they're going to do what they always do. They're going to be pointing fingers at Trump for whatever, different ways that they do it. And they're going to do the usual thing. They're going to call press conferences to say, we need gun control. That's what they're going to do. And they know they can't pass any of it in Washington, but it's all a show. It's a dog and pony show. In the meantime, the politicians here in Illinois, the Democratic governor, the Democratic Mayor Johnson, by the way, it's very different from Democrats like me when I was governor and Democrats when he was governor. We were pro-police. They're going to not have the backs of the police. Know they don't have their backs, and they know that they're outnumbered and outgunned gangbangers. And it's demoralizing and disheartening. It's so hyper-politicized, and it's disgraceful. I mean, you serve government. One of the rewarding things about that is that you can actually do good things for people. But today's politicians, not all of them, but today's Democrats in Illinois, I'll put it that way, our two leaders, the mayor and the governor, all about politics and bashing Trump and not anything about helping people.
They got their priorities out of whack. Governor Blagojevich, here's Judge Weinberg.
Governor, good to talk to you again. So,
hi, Judge.
Let me ask you this question. What is the track record of success that Governor Pritzker can run on as he launches his campaign for the presidency of the United States? Because I can't find anything that he's done that's productive and helpful to the people of Illinois.
Oh, boy, Judge, I know. And, there's so much to say about how poorly he's run Illinois. More than 51 taxes and fees have been raised in our state. Crime rates are up. Taxes are up. We're about to lose the Chicago Bears, who have joined other big businesses like Citadel, Boeing, Caterpillar. It's shocking to think that, he's got really anything that he could run on other than the fact that he seems to make it his livelihood to just oppose Trump every step of the way. And I think in the final analysis, that sort of stuff at some point comes back to bite you. But I'm not too optimistic about the chances of the Republican candidate to win here because the state has unfortunately become a little bit too Democratic. And I kind of some of the responsibility for that because I was the first Democratic governor in 26 years to win. Looking back, I have several reasons, Judge, to wish I never did win, not the least of which is I created this environment where Democrats win in Illinois. But, of course, worse than that, my term as governor didn't end exactly how I would have liked to have ended.
Well, you got a raw deal, and we love you, Rob Blagojevich. You are the best. And you guys, what do we all stand for? Will you join us, Rod, on this one? You ready? Truth, justice, and the American way. Thank you, Rod, so much. And everybody, God bless New York, God bless America, and God bless Chicago.
God bless.
Thanks for listening to Katz and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. You can hear Katz and Cosby weekdays at 5. It's the 5 o'clock show on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?